Ladies and gentlemen, grab your tea and get ready for Tea Talk, where the topics are real, relevant, and relaxing. It's Tea Talk time. Here's Lady O.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you. Well, hi, guys, and welcome to Tea Talk. As you can see, I'm all masked up because uh, today is October 31st, and the world celebrates this as Halloween. So, today we're going to talk about the relevancy of Halloween and how it spills over into some other traditions that we celebrate and how it affects us and what it really means when we start to celebrate or observe these particular days. So get ready, get your pens ready because we're going to be talking about and we're going to be keeping it real about Halloween, October 31st. Some things may be a little bit spooky or scary, so you might want to not have your children in the room. Um, Protect their little ears because everything they hear, they remember and it can affect them. So please remove your kids from the room. We're going to be talking adult talk, which this is a children's holiday, but the adults need to be talking about it and understanding what it is when you allow yourself to trick or treat and what are the limits and the boundaries? What do we need to know so that we are making sure that we're actually doing something that is healthy for our children, okay? And I don't mean by sugar, I mean healthy with the emotions and spiritually. We want our kids to be safe. We're going to talk about some safety precautions for those people that are doing trick or treating in just a few more hours. And we're going to talk about some do's and don'ts. So we're going to give you some tips. But before we do that, I'm going to remove this mask, okay? Because I really never really liked masks at all. Even when I was a little girl and we would get the Halloween costumes, the eyes were too little, or they were pushing in my cheeks. And then the rubber band was too tight or it broke and you had to hold it on. So in the chat, write down what kind of costumes you remember as a kid. While we're getting warmed up here and tell some other people, girl, you need to get on here because they're going to be talking about Halloween. And we're getting ready to take all the kids tonight and have some quote unquote fun. We want to make sure that you are knowledgeable of everything that you need to know so that you can have real fun and not, set yourself for damage to your children or, something unsafe. So there's a lot of information that's going to be going on. Now, before I get started and before we start talking about this, my panel is going to come on and help me talk about Halloween. But I want to just remind you all that are hearing me, and I know right now, I'm going to put my hands on my hips. I know that every one of you all have voted in the Cypher school board election, right? Because the final day is Tuesday. This coming Tuesday is the last day, and I've been talking about it because we have a lot of tricks going on in our district. And one of the things that a lot of people don't know, they don't research. And so they're getting tricked by people that say one thing, but really behind closed doors, there is an agenda that is nothing like what they're saying out in the open. So you've got to really do your homework to make sure that you're not being tricked on this trick or treat by listening to some things that are just not true in this election. Pastors running for school board. So of course I have a vested interest in it as well as I have grandchildren. And I love children, period. And I love education. So this is a really big issue for me because who you have sitting on the board, the school board in your district is so important because they make decisions for your children. And sometimes the decisions are not equitable. I know you've heard about all the things that are going on with the school boards now. The school board people are being threatened. They're being bullied. They've been lied on. They've been telling everything, playing politics instead of just getting some good people in to do the business of the children. And they have another agenda. And I tell you what, if you don't get in there and vote for the right person, you're going to be so sorry. And it'll be so late if you get the wrong people in there. And I don't say that just because my husband is running. He is an excellent person and he should definitely be on the school board. He's proven himself to be a wonderful leader of children and making decisions. This district in Cy-Fair has grown to be such a great district, and it's because of people who have grown it that way. So some people say, well, they've been on there too long. Well, what is too long if you're making our district better? What is too long if you're constantly getting awards from other people saying you're a great school board member, you're a great person for education? He's gotten several awards just the past couple of months from people and organizations. He's been chosen to be supported by the American Federation of Teachers this year. So you can't just say somebody's been on there too long when they're constantly giving you something great and making your district better. So I just say, go out and vote, or else you're going to get a big trick, because if you don't, but Dr. Ogletree is going to move our district forward and not backwards, because we don't need to have it great again. Again means back in the day, there was something that they really, really liked going on, and they want it again today. And how many of you know we cannot go back, because whatever was in the past was not great for us, and we do not want to make America great again that way. Okay, and that's for all races. It's going to be something. We have come so far in America, and we definitely cannot go back. So Dr. Ogletree will move the district forward and not backwards. And so if you'll share that with some other people too and get the word out, because we're not playing all the tricks and doing the little dirty games that we see going on around us. And, you know, some people are, and maybe they'll win, but they can't win if you get up and take 5 or 6 people to the polls with you this Tuesday. Okay. All right. No tricks, just treats. All right. On the board. Okay. I'm going to take this mask off, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with our show for today. And I guess the first thing I want to do is to ask you guys about some history. Let's look at some history about for my team. They've been researching and looking at, where did Halloween come from? You know, how has it evolved over the years? So I know, Shelly, I know you got some, did you do some research on that one as to where Halloween came from, or was that Tracy? Who wants to go first?
Yes, I did.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Shelly.
So in America, Halloween started in the 1840s, and it actually started because the Irish people were fleeing a potato famine. Mm-hmm. So they came to America, and the first name was All Hallows Eve Day. And this day actually marked the end of summer and the harvest, and started the beginning of winter time. So it was considered, and this time of the year was considered a time of associated with human death. So another thing,
human death, like people dying.
Yes, it was associated with that. It was associated with that. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then also with the pumpkins, let me just look at that. So the jack-o'-lantern custom.
Hold on to the jack-o'-lantern first. Let's go back and see what everybody else has heard about the death part of it. Because I know, I think it was Flair, did you talk about the All Saints Day, the death part of it? Have you all heard that this was associated with celebrating the death of a loved one?
Yeah, well, what I was saying, when I was coming up, we went trick-or-treating and everything like that. But the next day, November 1st, was for us All Saints Day. And that was the day we did Mass, because I was Catholic. I was raised Catholic. We did Mass in honor of the saints and those of our family members and friends who had passed on. So we tried to remember them. And what we did, sometimes we would go to the grave site of those family members and friends, and we would clean it off. We would kind of get together, remember them. So that's what we did for All Saints Day, which, as I said, was on November 1st.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Anybody else have anything to do with the All Saints Day or anything to do with death? Tracy, are you speaking?
Yes, mine was not so much about the death part. When I looked at the research, it said that the tradition originated with the ancient Celtics, and that they would basically light bonfires, and they would wear costumes to ward off ghosts. And then on November the 1st, that was set aside to honor saints. And then they end up merging. So All Saints Day incorporated some of the traditions of the Celtics from October the 31st. And it evolved into something called Hallows Eve. And over time, the traditions changed. And as we know it today, it's become more commercialized and associated with, the trick-or-treating and the horror movies and all the other stuff. I know as a child, I think I was sharing with someone earlier, coming up in a kind of a full gospel Pentecostal background, that was just a no-no for us. That was forbidden. You just didn't even talk about it and acknowledge it. It was just seen as, if you try to sneak and do it, you're gonna get in trouble. God's
Oh,
no
wow.
good to you, so we just didn't do it.
So are you saying that for your particular religion, they did not allow the children to trick or treat at all?
No, not at all. Because
Okay.
and then I think coupled with the fact that at that time people were putting razor blades and candy or apple, just a lot of evil stuff was going on. And I
Right.
think that was all kind of merged together. Like, see, I told y'all it's evil,
Mhm,
So
mhm.
they just
Yeah.
it was totally forbidden.
Can anybody look up or either speak to the fact that, because I'm speaking from things that I have read and heard as well over the years, that some people use it to bring back dead spirits, and they kind of play around with the spirits in different ways, and even to the point that some people have been overtaken by the spirits and even killed by spirits. Does anybody see anything in their research about people doing voodoo on October 31st?
No, but when we had mentioned that, and you said like the Hispanics and stuff, Latin, they celebrated All Souls Day, which is different from All Saints Day, and I guess almost the same, because they do celebrate their dead, but they do it in a whole different way. They do call out the spirits of the dead, and try to talk to them and everything. All Saints Day was not that. We didn't do it like
Y'all not talking to the dead?
No, we didn't talk to the dead. No, no, no. I'm going to pray for them, but I don't want to talk to them. No.
Well, it's so funny you said that. We have gone to yesterday. We went to several occasions, and there were parks. It was such a beautiful day, and we need to get away from all the political stuff and all the craziness going on. So we went to have a day to spend with several friends that invited us out to different parks and different occasions. And one of them, I had never been to this park. I forgot the name of it just that quick, but anyway, it's a Hispanic park, and all Hispanic. So we drove up. I mean, it was like, you would say it was over in Third Ward. It was in like their Third Ward. I mean, you could tell the homes there, the people had lived there, and plenty of history and family and all those kind of things in there. You could see them coming home to this is their home, even though it was a very, I won't say they were very low income, but it appeared that they had been there a long time, and the houses were very small. The streets were very narrow. But anyway, we went over there, and so we were just so excited, and I think I saw there were people everywhere. I mean, it was packed. Lots of animals. I mean, it was just really, really like a big festival, and people were dressed up. So we got inside. There was this big gazebo, real tall, and it had these big Mexican flowers around it. I know how to make them. There's festive, like the Cinco de Mayo flowers. They were everywhere, beautiful colors. And then as we got closer, we noticed that what was underneath them was kind of like a decorated mausoleum-like thing. And it was kind of arch-like around it. And on each one of them, it had the names of people who had died that past year. Or I don't know if they were just past year. I just saw the lady who was the lady in the army who was kidnapped, and they were looking for her for a long time. I saw her picture was up there, really big and pretty. So that's when I realized these people are dead, And so they put candles underneath them and flowers, and they make like a little worship thing where they're going to pray to them or pray for them. I didn't really know, but I was told by a Hispanic friends years ago that they have these shrines where they actually worship the dead in their family. So this particular person was a friend of mine. She said, in our home, we have a shrine, okay? And I think that's what she called it. But she said it's where all of our dead ancestors are here, and we worship them, and we use their spirits to help us when we need help. They use their spirits even to sometimes, attack somebody else. I mean, it almost sounded a lot like voodoo, and I think she gave me the name of it, and it was their form of voodoo. Now, that's not saying everybody was doing that. I don't know what they do in their homes, but this particular person, I remember her telling me that a lot of people from the old way, that they have them in their homes, and they do use them to like cast spells or to take a spell off of them. So it gets kind of into voodoo. And I know in with some of our culture, voodoo, and that's not what they call the name. They call it something else, and I'll think of it in a minute. But it was especially powerful during this time when there are full moons, and it was very popular during Halloween. And I know that Tracy, the part you were reading from, I was reading from that too. And it said at this time of the year, when the winter is leaving, the summer's leaving and the winter, the harvest is coming through, the world, the earth, and the spirit is supposed to be really weak so that it can pass backwards and forwards. And I'm not saying that that's true. I'm saying that's what some people believe. Not all people, not all Hispanic people, not all Black people do this, but there are some. And I wanted to hear from my team. Have y'all ever heard of anything like this?
Well, when my children were, I used to trick or treat when I was younger. My parents didn't have a problem with us going trick or treating. We used to love dressing up and going from door to door. But I grew up in a very small town. It's not even a town. It was a rural area. So the houses that we went to, we knew. So we didn't have a problem getting candy that had razors in it or apples. We didn't have that problem. Mm-hmm. But when I became a parent, the church that I attended at that time talked about the origins of Halloween and how the origins were evil, and that the Druid priests would do either animal sacrifices or people sacrifices. They would build these huge bonfires and do these sacrifices to the Celtic deities. Mm-hmm. So when I learned about that, I was like, well, this is an evil holiday. I'm a Christian. I don't want my children to participate. So then I was glad that the churches had something for the children. Mm-hmm. So I would allow them to dress up, but I would only take them to church. I never went to anybody's house for Halloween with them. I only let them go to church for the Halloween festivities at church.
Okay, very good. Okay, Tracy?
And I shared with y'all my background, but I think now my son is participates in the church activities, as opposed to trick or treating out in the neighborhoods. We share with him from the Christian perspective of not what other people are saying about it, but I feel very confident, comfortable with him going to church to celebrate, and I'm really glad that came about, because our kids, felt left out. They felt like, I want to celebrate, but I want to celebrate in the right way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. Who else wants to share? Flair?
Well, we as I say, we did celebrate it. My mom was big on parties and celebrating the holidays, but we celebrated because New Orleans is always a party time.
Right.
You always find an excuse to have a party.
Right.
It didn't mean anything to us. It wasn't like we were taught that Halloween was bad or anything like that. We just knew it was a time to have a party. And the reason she had the party was so that we wouldn't have to really go out and get the candy and everything. And when my kids came along, I did it. My mom did it with them for a little bit. But then when I, changed religions, and then they started the Hallelujah Fest. And that started in New Orleans before I came here. And I started taking them to there and, different meeting. And as I got older, they kind of made their own decision of what they wanted to do, but they understood what it was and what it wasn't.
Very good, very good. Well, for me, when we were kids, Halloween was a big day. I mean, in the projects, everybody was getting their little costume from the dime store. It probably cost
Yeah.
$1.99.
Yeah.
It's probably why they always broke it. We had to hold them here,
Yeah.
But that was a big day. And as soon as dark hit, I mean, we would have those on, and we would have buckets or bags. And a lot of people just took pillowcases. They took the pillowcases out of their off their bed or in the linen closet or whatever. I don't think we had a linen closet, but you just grab something to hold that with a grocery bag. And I never forget, as soon as it hit dark, you could hear them holler, trick or treat, and you could hear it everywhere. And it was just such a fun time. And we did it every year. We got so much candy. We go back home and we would sort it out. We would trade. So, I don't like this one. You take that one. And we had no problem eating the candy, getting the candy. We didn't think about what Halloween meant. We just knew it was a fun time for kids. And so I remember when this little girl died, they put cyanide in her pixie stick. I don't know if y'all remember those little pixie straws. And all that was closed, it was just closed down at the end. And you would open up the end, push it out, and then just take all that in you. And it was called pixie straws. It was so good. I ate many of them, but it was so easy for people to contaminate them. And they were saying that there were people who actually practiced witchcraft on those days. And they love to do the trick part of it. And the trick part is, you do something and somebody gets hurt, harmed, or even dies. And they see that as being fun. So they're evil, people out there. And then they start putting razor blades inside the candy apples and inside, toffee and different candies that were soft. You'd have glass in there. And so they're evil people. And we did not think that there were evil people like that would want to harm children, but there are. And, the word is that a lot of them are satanic and they do worship. They were saying to let your kids run around at night like that. Some of them go around and they abduct children. Now, I never heard of it, but sometimes they keep things quiet and they'll just say somebody's missing the next day or whatever, but they don't, put it together with that. But now that I think about it, I said, I would never let my kids run over the projects, because we would be gone for a couple of hours. My mother would let us go and we'd be back in about a couple of hours, and she would not know what we were doing or where we were in 2 hours. Okay.
Wow.
So, just the fact that you would let your child go, it's because you don't know. Okay.
Right.
So
but it was a safer time. People weren't.
Yeah, but that's when it happened, though. There were things happening. And now think about it. We said it was a safer time, but we don't have cell phones. We don't have MSNBC. We don't have CNN. We don't have the satellites to tell us what's going on around the world. So we just didn't know what was going on around the world. And when that little girl died of the pixie straw, that's when it first started coming forward. But I don't think that was the first time it happened. But I agree with you. It was safer.
Yeah.
But don't you think, Lady O, too, you're in the projects. Your mother felt comfortable that she knew most of the people. And
we didn't really know most of the people in project. My mother kept us really sheltered. We knew the people on our street and some of the people behind us that were in our classes. But the projects is a huge place. We did not know all those people.
Okay.
And they really didn't know us. But one thing about it, back in that day, for the most part, it's black people in there, and black people love their kids, and they're not going to harm their kids. They're not going to let anybody else harm kids. So they didn't harm kids. Somebody might get hurt, an adult or raped or something, but kids, they usually didn't bother them. As long as they stayed in the projects. Now, if you went out of your projects and went to somebody else's or went outside, it was considered not safe. So, I just don't know. We don't know what was going on back then, but we do know when we study the history that there were things going on as far as fires being burned and people being sacrificed. If you read, I know there were some things where some people believe that, they need to sacrifice a child or a virgin. So, you don't want to get too gory with it, but the fact of it is that it is true. I'm going to read you a couple of scriptures. Wait a minute. before I do that, you want to go ahead and talk about the pumpkins, any kind of other traditions, because I remember them saying that it used to be turnips, right? Then they
Right.
started using
Pumpkin.
pumpkins. So who was that? Tracy or Shelly was going to tell me about the jack-o'-lanterns?
Yes, the jack-o'-lantern was a custom that started with the Irish people again, and it was based on Irish folklore. So this drunk person, his name was Jack, and he tricked Satan into climbing a tree, and then he carved a cross in the trunk of the tree to trap the devil. So then he struck a deal with Satan to leave his soul alone, but when he died, instead of leaving him alone, he did not leave him alone. And so what he did was he carried the embers in a hollow turnip as he wandered in eternal darkness. So that's what happened with this drunk person named Jack. And so then later on, the turnip was replaced with a pumpkin. So that's where we get this jack-o'-lantern from.
Right. So I think if we kind of really look at it, guys, and somebody else might want to share something, but everything that I look at when I'm looking in history is dealing with spirits to keep the evil spirits away. You know, so it's talking about the gods of the world. This harvesting was done to appease the gods of the world. So it all definitely goes against, let's see, here it said, right here, it says, talking about the Celts, okay? It said in Ireland, what is now known as Ireland, the United Kingdom and Northern France believed that the dead returned on Earth on Samhain, which was the October 31st, that they returned to Earth. That's what they believed, okay? On this sacred night, they're using the word sacred, people gathered to light bonfires. And see, those candles and jack-o'-lanterns were part of the fire to offer sacrifices and to pay homage to the dead. So to me right there, that's history. And it has nothing to do with well, it has everything to do with Satan and not God. Everything to do with spirits and evil spirits. And that's why it says the trick or treat was coined. The custom had been firmly established in American culture by 1951, which is, you know, around the time most of us were born, that time or a little after. When trick or treating was depicted in the Peanuts comic strip, in 1952, Disney produced a cartoon called Trick or Treat, featuring Donald Duck and his nephews Huey, Louie, and Dewey. Remember them? So it kind of got into transitioning to Halloween and the trick or treating that we know today, probably around the late 40s and early 50s. But before that, it was pretty much talked about as spirit of the dead, worshiping the dead, worshiping, going into cemeteries and having some different rituals and things like that. And not everybody did it, but some people did it, just like Flair said, she did hers in a different way. They just went and cleaned off the grave, you know, stayed there, you know, a little while. Did y'all have a party there, Sister Flair? How long did y'all stay at the grave?
No party at the grave. No, we just you know, just kind of went and said a little prayer and just sat around and talked and shared memories and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we didn't party at the gravesite.
Right. Okay, let's talk about some safety things, guys, and some different ways we can do it. I see Sister Pam Duck said she took her children to the mall for Hallelujah Fest and Hallelujah Fest, which is what we have at First Met. So that's another alternative of things you can do, because it is dangerous. You don't know whose door you're knocking on, if it's a trick or a treat. You know, your children are just so valuable. You just don't want to take a chance. 50-50, we might get a treat here. You might get a trick as well, depending on who's behind that door. And with the way racism is going on, you know, you don't know. I wouldn't want to do it for my children. Y'all, unless you know the person's house you're taking them to, I would be very selective about letting my children run through the neighborhood hollering trick or treat. So Hallelujah Fest is one of the things that we did as a church, because we don't want our children to miss out on anything. And so, we want them to be happy. We want to give them everything, but we cannot give our children everything at the risk of them being harmed or even losing their lives. We as the adults have to be the mature one, the wise one, because our kids can't read. They can't discern evil. So we have to do what's best to protect our children. So one of the things that we do at First Met, and you can put in the chat too some other alternatives that you have, and I'll tell you about one that we did last year with COVID. But I wanted Sister Downs to come on because she has she's the one that's over our children at First Met, and she and her team pulled together the best parties for they call it Hallelujah Fest. This year they're going to call it Trunk or Treat. So I wanted her to come on and talk about how they talk to the children, and then tell us about tonight's event, which starts at 6, I believe. Sister Downs, hello.
Hello. Now that you
Welcome to
sufficiently
Teen Talk.
scared me, I'm scared now. All of this death you've been talking about.
Don't be scared, Sister Downs. She's so scary. She doesn't even want me to put a mascot in the thing. So, but tell us about how do you handle that? You've got all these children that the parents are, bringing their kids to church and to learn about God, but the world is telling them all these things on TV, and they want to go and do trick or treat and so forth. So what do you tell the parents, and what do you teach them in church?
Okay, today's lesson was pumpkin seed, and we try to take the holidays and bring it back to God, what He wants us to do and how He wants us to be. So the pumpkin grows from a tiny seed. So we incorporated that with the 2 fish and 5 loaves, and how God can take small things and do great things with it. Just like you have a small pumpkin seed and it grows into a big pumpkin. But Hallelujah Fest originally started with me back in 2013. And it was designed to have an event at the church where the kids could come and have fun and do some of the same things that they're doing in the neighborhoods, but doing in a safe environment than the trick-or-treaters that's on the street. Tonight it's going to be a little bit different because we're still in the midst of COVID. So everything is going to be outside. Normally we have games and activities inside with contests, but we're going to have some games and they're going to be outside. So when they go to the trunks to get their trunk or treat, they can also win prizes with the games. We're going to have a petting zoo, and the animals are going to be inside the pen, and the kids will have an opportunity to go and see animals and pet animals that they don't normally see. They only read about them in school. And then we're going to have a 4-pony sweep, and the children will be able to ride. So we're hoping that they're going to all come out and have a good time, and we enjoy doing it. We enjoy the kids. So any questions?
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun, and it's free and open to everybody, even if you're not a member.
Yes, we try to make it a community event, so
Perfect.
that the kids that don't know, that aren't coming to church and stuff, can see that they can go to church and still have fun. And
I think that's the reason really why we really do something for the kids, because when we were growing up, especially some of these people like Tracy, we used to call them holy rollers. It's like they don't ever have any fun. Their parents make them go to church. And I know they did not want to go to church because they were not having any fun. And it seems like everybody else is having fun and not us. So I think that's great. So it's going to be, the time again is what time?
It's from 6 to 8.
6 to 8. And it's going to be at First Metropolitan Church.
First Metropolitan on the back.
The sun is following me, y'all guys. Thank you. 6 to 8. Very good. Okay. And so is there going to be food there or just candy? Should they eat before they come?
They should eat before they come.
Okay. And that's good. Okay, very good. And nothing scary. And that's the thing that I kind
No
of,
scary. We don't let them wear demonic
no
costumes or
witches,
anything
nothing
like
like
that. They
that.
can wear their costumes, but let them be, wholesome.
Very good. Very good. Well, good, good, good. Well, thank you. We will see you there. To my right, this way. Okay, this way. Is that good? Okay. I'm trying to fight the sun, guys. Can you have Harper put this on? I want her. If she's not asleep, I want her to come model it for me. She sleep? Let her sleep. Okay, I have to show it to you. But thank you, Sister Downs, for doing this. And we want everybody to come out, bring carloads of kids, because it's going to be some safe fun. And I know it seems more exciting to run around through the neighborhood trying to get a trick or a treat. But you know what? In these days and times, we just can't do. We have to
Well,
change
they'll
some
be
things.
outside, so they can still run around and play with each other.
Yeah, they still get outside and it's going to be safe. And you know what? They don't need all that candy anyway. My mom used to make us throw away half the candy. And when I started letting my kids, do trick or treating in their older ages because they wanted to go, they would go get a pillowcase and run around and act silly. When they come back, I said, throw it away. Because I just, I told them you just cannot trust. If it's somebody next door, you can take hers out. She gave the M&Ms, take that out. The rest of the stuff, throw it away. Number one, you don't need it because it's full of sugar or whatever. It's just the fun of collecting them. And then if you get so much, you can't even eat it all. It's like for a month, you're eating candy morning, noon, and night. So, okay. So are there any costume rules?
The only thing is, like I said, nothing demonic or scary. I know some kids are scarier than others, like me, but
Yeah.
I think the parents should just use good judgment and saying we're at a church event and just be appropriate.
I think so too. And we gave you a couple of little things there too. Don't let the kids go alone. That's number one. Make sure that you know the people that are giving your children candy, and that you only keep so much of it, and inspect it, because with those pixie sticks, I never ever allowed another pixie stick to come, in my house. And I think that I don't even know if they make them anymore. But listen, I want to give you a couple of. I want to show you my little trick or treater that this morning. They have been with us the whole weekend. We've been traveling all over the place, and so we went from. First met this morning, and then we went out to my son Joe's church, and they had a children's church. And when I went to pick up, what happened to the other bow? It came off. Come up here. I went to come. This okay. This is Harper. Say hello, Harper. And she got this costume from church. Tell them what your costume is.
A superhero.
A superhero. And you're a superhero for who?
For my super cape.
You have your super cape. So they gave them a super cape when I came to pick her up. She had a super cape on. Ta-da! See if they can see it real good. And then she had her mask on, and she told me she was a superhero for God. Okay? And God is her superhero. So they use that superhero thing about God being the superhero, and then of them being superheroes for God. So, and I tell you what, she doesn't want to take it off. We had to threaten her a minute ago to take it off. She's had it on since this morning. You want to take your costume off?
No.
You like it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, you look beautiful. You ready to go see Sister Downs this evening?
Mm-hmm.
Say hello to Sister Downs.
Hi, Harper.
I'll see you in a little bit for my trunk or treat.
Oh, we're gonna have fun.
Okay. All right. You can go back with Daddy. All right. So I want you to see that, because I think that, this simple little cape, she is going to eat into the restroom with it. We got to hold it up. And so you see, just for a little bit something, she said it goes with that lesson that they have, and they ordered it with the lesson. And then they sent home a little baggie with a little game to play in it with the family. It's blue as well. So it was really good. But listen, before we go, I want to give you some word. I asked Pastor about it. I said, Pastor, what do we tell the people that are Christians about trick-or-treating and about Halloween? And he said, let's give them some scripture just that you know. And Sister Downs, thank you for coming and joining us. I'm sorry. I know you've got to go and fix up all those trunk or treats. We'll see you later. All right. So anyway, this is one of the scriptures that he gave me. He used this word, and this word is used a lot when you start really researching into this. And I want y'all to Google, what different religions that have done, not just the world, what some religions do for Halloween, what they believe about ghosts and voodoo, and I almost said Santeria. I almost said it. Santeria. Google that. That's the one that my friend told me that they celebrate Santeria. It's a form of witchcraft, and it's okay. They use it in the religion, I'm going to tell you some because a lot of religions have stopped. But the one that was my friend, she said she's Catholic, and she said they believe in Santeria. And I don't know if anybody knows anything about that, but it's supposed to be just like voodoo. It's another word for voodoo, but it's from the Hispanic part. And remember, not all of them do this. So I'm not saying all Hispanics or all Black people do voodoo, okay? But anyway, divination, Pastor, come help me out. He's looking at me saying, I'm saying the wrong word. But come help me, baby. All right, so the words he gave me, Deuteronomy 18 and 10 and 11, write that scripture down. That talks about divination. You want to say this for me? You want to come explain it?
Divination.
Okay, you want to come up here and explain it to the people?
Yeah,
because I want to make sure.
It's just the sin.
Pastor's going to tell us, but he's going to be out of camera because he says he's not dressed.
The sin of divination is just the art or practice of seeking to foresee or have someone foretell future events. God forbidden it among his people that for anybody to seek the hidden through superpowers other than God, and believing in witchcraft and sorcery and mediums, all of that kind of stuff is really against God. And in fact, in Exodus 22:15, he said, you should not permit a sorceress to live. They were condemned to death. Also in Leviticus 19:31, Deuteronomy 18:10 and 11. These are things that were forbidden. Anything worshiping mediums or worshiping the dead or those kind of practices is just against God.
Okay, go ahead. It's okay. Thank you.
That's some history.
Oh, this is just history. Okay, we did go through the history and so forth. All right, I think that was what really I wanted you all to hear, because a lot of times we let people read our palms. We let people read our tea leaves or, speak into our lives about certain, things like that. And a lot of it, we've had it happen where it's been a part of tradition in our family that we go get our palm read, or we go, we have someone who reads something. Let me tell you what it says about Santeria, because I want to make sure I was saying, is that Santeria also holds that a spirit of the dead. That's why worshiping the spirit of the dead is really a no-no. It said that it may attach itself to an individual. So a lot of times what I've seen and heard is that person worships that spirit, and that it can attach themselves and do things through them. I said, and thus harm the person. Adherents also often believe that humans can harm one another through supernatural means, either involuntary, by giving them a evil eye, or deliberately through brujeria, which is witchcraft. So one of the things that I remember someone told me that was from Africa, they said the person gave them an evil eye. Well, I'm just thinking nothing about it, but they're saying an evil eye, which means people can put a spell on you if they look at you in a certain way and give you an evil eye. So these are all things that we have to be very careful. We were talking earlier about a game that was out when we were little, about the same time that all this little evil was going on, called wait a minute, what's it called? What's the little Ouija board? Ouija board, that was it. The Ouija board. Okay. And so I remember my friends all had Ouija boards, and I wanted one because of the things it said it could do. And I had watched them use it, and it would literally, you put your hands on the board and the thing would start to move. Anybody ever experienced a Ouija board? And I wanted you to, I think, who was that told me that?
I did.
That they had,
I used to, yeah, we got one for Christmas.
Tell us about a Ouija board. What was that experience like? And did it actually move without you moving it?
Yeah, it did. You put your hands on both sides. Like we would sit across from each other. And so maybe my brother and my sister would be across from me and we'd put our hands on it. We were excited about it because it was new, it was different. We turned the lights out and it did actually move. And I believe you asked questions. And
yeah, you did.
Moved. Yeah.
And it would spell the answer out.
Spell the answer out, yes. But we kind of looked at it as a fun thing. We weren't scared because we looked at it as something that's fun and different to do. So we didn't understand.
I don't think it really moved by itself, really.
What do you think made it move, Flair? You think it maybe is the energy?
I don't think it really moved. I think, enough hands on it just move, See, that's where it is. I don't
spell the words out. QT said she used it in college.
Mm-hmm.
And Pam said she experienced the Ouija board. Yeah.
I never believed in that. I know they did. I never believed in that, though. I don't know why.
It actually moved.
I didn't believe in it either. I was scared of it.
It would move.
That's what scared me, is when it actually moved. I saw it move. And the girls had their hands on, they would ask a question. Like back in that day, they were asking silly questions like, does Johnny like me? And it would literally say YES or NO. And then sometimes the answer would be longer, but it would actually spell the answer out.
And you don't think somebody was doing that with their hand?
No.
Who would do it as a child? How would you know to do it?
Well, like you said, when you're in college and stuff, and somebody says, does Milton love me? And she says, yes. And
you'd have to kind of see it and experience it, because it's not something that you actually push. You just put your hands on it and it starts to move. And you can tell when it starts moving, that, okay. So people that have used it, do you think you moved it with your own energy or thoughts? Or do you think the board actually moved? Did you push it or make it to move, or do you think it moved on its own? Give me some feedback in the chat.
Now, as an adult, I think that I don't think it was spirits or anything. I think it was probably just the energy from the people that had their hands on it. That's what I think. I think it was just the energy, because it definitely moved and we did not push it. We were not pushing it.
But everybody around the board had different thoughts.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll be two girls liking the same boy. And it'll say, does Johnny like Evelyn? And it will say the answer for me, which my energy would be going, okay, I don't know. But I think that would be, I'm just saying it's a weird thing.
I don't know. But
and then let me tell you, the other thing too, I would just say too, is don't take your children to see scary movies. And even the other night, one came on and I thought would show my grandkids. And it started coming on. It was talking about the man headless that didn't have a head. And my kids are too young and too scared. I turned it off immediately, But you don't want to have your kids watching something where somebody cut off the head, because that's in a part of the history about the lantern, that they would cut off the head, the headless man.
Headless horseman, headless
whatever, horse rider, whatever it was.
The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Yes, that all had to do with demonic spirits and evil and darkness and sorcery. Yes. And so when you look at all of those and they're connected to religious holidays and events, that's a problem. Yeah. To me, that's a problem. So we have to be very careful about the movies. So we got it right now that we've got an alternative to with Hallelujah Fest and doing positive things, no spooky stories, no scary costumes. Now you got to watch about the little Disney movies, because they are telling these movies and talking about people being stabbed and blood dripping and all that stuff. And it's not, that part gets over, I think, into the evil part of it. Yeah, it could confuse your minds and even give you even some hints. When you even talk about ghosts. Now, when I was a little kid, I slept with the cover over my head because they talked about ghosts in these textures. There were ghosts. They would say that house was, they would call it haunted. It's a haunted house. It means haunted. And they would say, I'm sure it came from probably back in French or somewhere where they picked it up. But they would say it's haints. You ever heard the word haints?
Mhm.
No.
Anyway, same thing as ghost.
Yeah.
And you know, you've seen pictures where they have ghosts. They caught ghosts moving in the houses, or there's energy in the rooms. So the one thing that I tell you, I know that really, really made me feel. They had a movie out called The Exorcist. Anybody saw The Exorcist?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And we went to see The Exorcist, and that thing was really, really weird and demonic to me, beyond just being scary. And so when we got home that night, we were getting ready to walk up our stairs to our apartment upstairs, and the stairs came from back and went up like that. So we went around the corner of the building, and we went around the corner of the building. There was a girl that shot out from the darkness screaming that looked just like her. She had blonde hair. She had no shoes on, and she was running and screaming toward us. And I froze. I was pregnant with Johnny. Pastor ran the other way and left me. So that's why I know I wasn't seeing things, because it was so like, wow, where'd she come? It was late at night from a movie. And then if you will read up on it, a lot of people on that set died, mysterious deaths, and even the little girl. A lot of people on that set died because they said it was really some kind of demonic thing. And the Poltergeist was another one where people died from that movie.
Yep.
And Rosemary's Baby, y'all remember that one?
Yes.
She gave birth to the devil.
Yep, I remember that.
So all of these things like that kind of go off into the demonic. So one thing about being scary, but it's another thing about, having demonic, things like, divination, as Pastor was saying. And yeah, I think you have to be real careful with that fine line, especially when you're Christians. I don't believe it. What do y'all think? Y'all like? How many people like to be scared like that?
I don't.
No.
I do not like
No.
scary movies.
I don't like
look
scary
at 'em.
movies.
I don't do scary movies. No.
No.
I saw the Amityville Horror, and I saw the walls bleeding,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my last time watching scary movies, because that was
Wow. Yeah. And someone just had one a minute ago up here, and it kind of went down. Let's see, what was it? A movie that
Chucky?
somebody, what?
Chucky, somebody has Chucky up there.
Yeah,
Chucky.
Chucky. That's one I will not watch.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't
I
like
have
that either.
dolls, and they have a doll turn around at me and start talking. Oh no!
Instead
Oh no! They got a new one coming out this time. No. Pam said she saw the 13 Ghosts with 3D glasses as a child, and I was very glad to
she
see
was
it.
glad. Maybe she meant sad. Maybe she meant
Yeah, I hope
sad.
she missed it. Yeah, maybe she missed that.
Pam, explain what you mean about that.
I can't
Oh, she
watch
said yes,
scary movies.
people died. Yeah, she said yes, people died and had nervous breakdowns on the set of the
Ooh.
one. Yeah, it was. You can read about it. So
Yeah,
this was
Poltergeist,
the
yeah,
demonic
a lot
shit
of
they
them-
got off in there.
Yeah, the characters in Poltergeist, the little girl and the lady, the old lady, I think it was.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think one of the other, the sister or somebody too. They all
Yeah.
had one. Mhm.
It was really, really demonic. The Candyman. Johnny says the Candyman is another one.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Friday the 13th. That was a scary one.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Friday the
Friday
13th. All of those are movies that are associated, and they come out around Halloween time.
Mhm.
Now, the scariest, craziest one I saw was Madea, and that was a hot mess. It was funny, but it's not real, But Candyman and Chucky, I'm not going to, and the guy with what's the mask on?
That's Friday the 13th.
That's
It's-
Jason.
Jason,
Jason.
yeah, Jason.
Is he Friday the 13th?
He is.
I think so.
Okay, because see, I never saw it. I just know that I saw the mask, and looking at people have committed crimes with those masks.
with those masks on.
With
There's
those
another
masks
one
on.
out with her now, with him. I saw it advertised, a new one.
A new one?
With
Oh, my
Jamie Curtis and that Friday the 13th man, Jason. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I
Mhm.
tell you what, I think that
won't be
we've given
looking
you a
at
lot of information about the fact that it is a holiday that was really a demonic celebrated holiday. It was not anything to do with anything positive. People were burning people, having these big bonfires and sacrificing people and praying to the dead and honoring the dead and bringing up the dead and using the dead to do ghostly things. So it was a very terrifying time. Over the years, like I said, we have learned better, and we are getting more information about it. So we're trying to allow our children to have fun that is safe and that is God honoring, and not issuing or allowing the demonic to enter into our children through trick or treat or having fun. So a lot of these kids too grow up and they have nightmares, they have emotional issues, and a lot of it stems from the fact, I know when I was a little kid, they talked a lot about ghosts and the boogeyman and all that stuff. And so I had problems sleeping at night. I would cover my head. I could barely breathe because I didn't want to see the ghost. Because literally I would see dead presidents coming at me. There would be dead presidents just coming at me like this, like ghosts. And I could see ghosts in the air or things moving. And I just covered my head up and just kept my nose out like this so I could breathe, so I could go to sleep. So now I think it was just my uncle and them telling the scary stories, because we didn't really have TV and all that kind of stuff a lot to look at. But we need to really be thinking about what we're looking at, and be careful about the cartoons. Just because it says, you know, one of your favorite children's book characters, Clifford and the Big Red Dog, goes to visit the witches on Halloween. You know, you want to just stay away from that, because witches, people use them to make fun of and try to, you know, act like they're in a costume to be a witch to scare people. But witches were nothing to be played with, and you don't want your child depicting that. So get good costumes, guys, and just research. Come on out to First Metropolitan Church tonight and at 6:00, and get some good fun and get good candy and ride the ponies and just have some good, clean fun. And be very careful. If you decide to let your kids go trick-or-treating, please go with them. Please monitor what you allow them to eat, and just please help them to understand some of the dangers. Don't be so trusting with your children to other people, because some people do want to harm children, and it's unfortunate, but we have to protect our children because they cannot protect themselves. Well, our time is up, guys, and listen, I want you to have fun. I didn't get a chance to share what we did last year, but pretty much we had COVID, and we did pumpkin carving and pizza and all the things around the house, around the yard. We dressed up. We had fun. I'll show you the pictures next time. But listen, this is Lady O. I'm out. I'll see you tonight at Hallelujah Fest, First Metropolitan Church, 8870 West Sam Houston Parkway North, between 290 and the Beltway on West Road. So we'll see you tonight. Be safe, guys. Bye-bye.